Welcome back to K24 Alpha G. It's now time to rise and shine. This is what we do every single morning from 6:30 to 7. And today we are actually going to be talking about being a man or a woman of value. Joining me in this conversation is a man who has two first names. I don't know why, but I love it. Mr. Elmard Rigan, karibu sana to K24 Alpha G. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Happy
Why
to be
the
here.
two names, though?
Well, it's a very interesting story because a lot of people ask me that question.
Yeah.
And I happen to get the name Elmard from my granddad.
Okay.
May his soul rest in peace. He was a best buddy to me. And out of all the grandsons, I'm only the one who was privileged to have that name. So
Yeah.
I'm honored.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
And who is Mr. Rigan, if I was to ask you?
Thank you. So Regan is a motivational speaker, very passionate about the youth specifically, with an aim to change them by helping them identify their corner of purpose in a circle full of uncertainties. Because by all means and angles, if you look at a circle, there's no corner.
Absolutely.
But that's my mission.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I'm a counselor by profession. That's what I do. But my passion lies solely on motivating the youth.
Okay.
Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you.
And today we are talking about being a man or a woman of value. First of all, what are values?
Well, values are set standards either by society or by individuals who feel that they should be guiding principles to where they ought to be, or where they feel like if they are implemented, the society becomes a better place eventually. But all the same, I'd equally define a value or value as the importance that we tag on either items, ideas, projects, and eventually individuals. So the catchword here is the importance that we ascribe to those issues that I've mentioned.
Okay.
Yes.
So why should I be a woman of value, and why should you be a man of value?
Good question. Now, a lot of people the world over, about 80% don't know their value. That's the tragedy of life.
80%?
About 80%. Because if you walk out the street today and ask somebody, by the way, do you know your value? Some will scratch their heads. Some will brush it off and say, well, I think this is what I'm worth. But value is something that is ingrained inside somebody. It's something that no matter what comes your way, you're still able to say that despite this and this and this and that, I still remain to be Sarah, for example. Despite this happening to me, I still remain to be a woman of purpose and value. Yes.
Okay. So you must have that.
Exactly.
And how do these values impact our life?
Good. You see, I'd like to give a story about this guy who had 3 sons. And you see, this guy was almost dying, and all these 3 sons, kids, I'm almost dying, and I'd like of you to give me presents of your choice before I die. And so the firstborn son came and, gives his dad coins. Dad says, fine, that's okay. Then the second-born son comes and he gives his dad cotton wool.
Okay.
The last-born son comes.
There's money?
Yes.
There's
cotton wool. Yes.
Okay.
So when the last-born son comes, he comes holding a candle. He gets a match from his pocket, strikes it, and the entire room is filled with the light. And the father is like, now for sure I know who I'll give my inheritance. Because what made the first son come with money, and what the second one come with cotton, and why the third with light? Because if you compare these 3 items, by and large, having light is more important than having money, for example. Having light is more important than having cotton, the material possession that we may have. And so you see, it's very, very important because it places us at a high place, on a pedestal that will be way much advantageous to us. So it's very, very essential and crucial to have these values in our lives.
Okay.
Yes.
But even as we live life, sometimes when we know our value, sometimes people say, you're putting yourself on a pedestal and you're way too up there.
Yes.
You need to calm down. So how do you live a life that you know for sure, this is my value and I'm going to stand by it, and this is who I am?
Exactly.
Without people maybe thinking that, okay, you're really trying to be too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the first point to that would be to have a vision. Because even the good book, the Bible, says that my people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Yes.
And if you dissect the word knowledge, it's basically vision. Because there's nothing in this world that was ever started minus a vision. You see, the intention of the car, for example, was for somebody, or rather it was somebody's idea to see people moving easily from point A to point B easily without much struggle. So once there is vision in what you want to do, that's only the beginning point. Because you can't say that I want to accomplish this, but it's not in your head. So it calls for having it, visualizing it, then moving to the next step of now implementation. So the vision has to be very, very, very clear. And it makes me like this bird, the eagle. The eagle will not just leave its nest. It will leave its nest because it has a reason why it's leaving its nest. Probably because it's going to hunt, and it will calculate its distance. You know that, okay, maybe I'm going for this rodent on the ground. It will have to take its calculations right and say, this is my purpose, this is my aim. It will go down, get back to its nest. It just doesn't move about without a reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
So no matter what, you have to stand by those values.
Exactly.
Okay, so even when the system is against you.
Very true.
You have to be that.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting. But now, the other thing that I really wanted to know is, for someone who hasn't found that in themselves, you still don't know what your value is. As you have said, 80% of the world's population doesn't even know their own value. So how do you find that within yourselves? How do you know this is my value? This is me. This is who I am?
Very, very true. And see, I'd say it calls for a lot of self-talk and self-searching. Lots of it.
Which goes back to purpose.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Because personally, also, I underwent the same. There were moments of tears. There were moments of anguish. There were moments of crying day and night just to find this thing called my value or my vision, my purpose for that reason. You see, I'm not the person I was a couple of years back because I was doing drugs.
Oh, interesting.
I did alcohol.
I'd actually like to hear your story. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did alcohol, I did mad drugs, and an assortment of other drugs.
Yeah.
But the interesting bit is this. Even as I was doing drugs, I was asking myself, really, Elmard, is this where you want to be? Because there was something inside me that was sticking and telling me, this is not your place. You need to move. You are not bound to stay here. And see, day in, day out, I used to ask myself, so what will become of me? And see, this question bothered me so much till I realized that I need to go to rehab. And thank God I went to rehab.
That is strange because it's not many people actually will take themselves to the rehab. You know that?
Well, actually, it was through the initiative of my folks, and I'm grateful to them for the same.
Yeah.
And also my counselor, through her help, I was able to overcome. So by infusing what I felt was deeply rooted, the anguish, the pain, into what I wanted to do that is now motivating people, I realized that, wow, then this is what I'm made for. This is truly my value.
How long did you do this for?
I did drugs for 2 years, but it was the longest 2 years of my life. Because I started in class 8, just after finishing my KCPE, then graduated to high school. I was doing it secretly, till about Form 2.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And the interesting bit is that it wasn't self-imposed, so to speak. I was dragged into doing drugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as it said, the rest is history. I had to move on and said, okay, this is a lesson for me to learn.
Yeah.
It's painful, but I need to use my story to empower other people who are in the same quagmire.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot of people who do drugs, and sorry to say this, it's because they don't know their value. And sometimes you feel lost, and maybe sometimes you feel like people do not understand you.
Very true.
And your values. So you find solace in taking the drugs. Did you feel the same? Like, did you know your value by that time?
By that time, I was more than lost. And that's why I say that the first point, the beginning point, is to know your vision, which for me wasn't there. But thanks to my counselor, I saw it. And see, she told me something that I really, really look back and say, Counselor Yvonne, you did a great job. Because she told me when I was at the rehab, Elmard, this life is yours. When you're ready for sessions, I'll come. Because I was so much resentful of even the sessions which were meant to help me. Even Dad told me, I've done everything that I can do for you. If you can get money to buy drugs, then you can as well leave my house.
Absolutely.
So at that moment I said, okay, fine.
You can sustain yourself.
Yes, I said, okay, something has to change here. So at that moment I had to assess, do I want to continue in the line of drugs, or do I want to change? And that's where the wake-up call came from. After seeing that I had a vision to help people, in as much as I was still painful and in the whole of drugs, the second bit had to be now assessing where I want to be, vis-a-vis where I am right now. Yes.
Okay, so I want to read something real quick about values. And it says, being successful isn't always the hardest thing in the world. It's equal part luck and hard work. But adding value to something is a lot harder, which is why Albert Einstein's quote is a good reminder. If you find yourself blinded by the hunt for success, there's nothing wrong with success. But oftentimes, it's easy to lose sight of who you are when you're successful. If you keep your eyes on your own values, you'll end up both successful and a good person, which is a pretty good combination.
Very, very true.
Wow.
Yes.
That is very true. Now, back to my question again. How do you find that within yourself?
So it would mean now inculcating some principles which you could get from, say, mentors, people that you feel are way above you and are of importance and of value, so to speak. Because you cannot just sit down and say that, okay, this is what I want to do and this is how I will do it. One man is too little. You need a team, you need people to support and people to help you. Just like I was assisted while in the rehab. Yes.
Okay.
So infusing help from people, from resources around us, things like books, going to seminars which speak about self-worth and cultivating the same. And it comes very, very, very handy.
Okay.
Yes.
And because you are a youth motivator, one of the things that actually make the young people stay in bad relationship is because maybe they do not know their values. And I'd like to hear your point of view on this particular one, because sometimes you're in there thinking relationships are supposed to be are not supposed to be easy, but you're supposed to persevere through it.
Very true.
And you forget your values. And I'd like to know your opinion. You talking to that young person who's been through it all in a relationship, and they still think, you know what, it's okay, let me put my values aside and, do what I have to do right now. Yeah.
Right. So I'd like to respond to that by asking a question to the audience. How many of us know the worth of somebody like Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, Bill Gates, Microsoft, or even Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook? They have monetary value. Like Jeff Bezos is about $142 billion US dollars. Bill Gates about $90 billion US dollars, and Zuckerberg 77 billion US dollars. But then the question is, if they are ripped of all that money, will they still remain to be who they are?
Wow.
Now mirror that to that relationship that is toxic. If everything else was stripped from you, would you still be who you are? Because there's no way you can compromise and say that, okay, because I feel this way about this guy or this lady, let me just compromise a bit, then things will be fine. That is a hole that you're digging yourself. And the tragedy is you will get in yourself. Because there's no point of doing something to please someone. I tried it myself, with the drugs in this case, and I went under. It made me do 2 years in high school instead of 4 years. My chemistry teacher, when I went to school, that is Form 2, because I had transferred to a new school, I remember we had a chemistry exam, and she came in and asked, so are you the one who was doing cocaine? I'm new, it's day 1 in class.
Wow.
And I said to myself, you know what, say what you want. I did drugs, yes. I've been to rehab. I've learned. Whatever you say won't matter to me. She went as far as saying, you had better just quit this class because anyway, you'll get an E at the end of it all.
Oh, wow.
Not in chemistry, the overall grade.
Yes. And but even at this time, you were trying to find yourself.
Yes.
And you are recovering from your addiction.
Exactly. And I said, come what may, I'm not going to compromise who I am because of what somebody thinks about me. Yes. So in the same vein, in relationships, in family affairs, or in whichever that matter, don't ever compromise because you feel like, if I do this, I'll make so and so happy. Don't work on you.
Okay. Okay. So how do your values relate to your success?
Very true. So my values as a person, in relation to my success, have opened avenues. Lots of avenues which I never thought would be possible. Because, as I said earlier, the moment I knew my vision, the moment I assessed where I was vis-a-vis where I wanted to be, then came the learning phase. And this now through mentors and friends who are higher than me. The most important bit, and it's the fourth one, is now being unique, your authentic self. And that's where a lot of people fall also. Because you don't know who God made you to be. You want to be like so-and-so. I think if I am like so-and-so, I think I'll be good. I'll be a person of value. If I apply this amount of makeup, then I'll be good. Or if I maybe ride in an Uber or go to this restaurant, then I'm good. No, that's not who you are. Being unique and being your authentic self pushes you to be that successful person and have your values merge at the apex of greatness. Yes. So for me, being unique, being my authentic self is what makes me more comfortable with who I am, despite what, no matter what happens. Yes.
Okay. So, and how do you avoid now the pressure? Because as you have mentioned, there's that comparison. And sometimes there's a very thin line because I might want to be a news anchor.
Yes.
And the person that I admire the most is, let's say, Julie Gishuru. So I want to be like her. So how do I find my path without copy-pasting what she's doing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, there's no problem with admiring somebody or wanting to be like somebody. The problem is if, as you said, you want to copy-paste everything, you'll be but a robot in that aspect. So the best you can do is align yourself to this person. Ask them how they do it. Where did they start from? What are the challenges they meet? And see, most of us ignore and say that, if it's Julie Gishuru, for example, or maybe Serah Teshna, no. She's so high in the profile, I can't approach her. But hello, they're human beings like you and me.
Absolutely.
They feel pain the same way we feel pain. So if you need to be that person that you admire or exemplify somebody of the sort, then be with them. Because Oscar Wilde tells us that just be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Everyone else is taken, absolutely.
Yes. So be aggressive, go for those opportunities and be those people.
Yeah.
Be your unique self.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what are some of the qualities that we need to have value?
One of the most important values I cherish, or rather one of the most important qualities I cherish in matters value is discipline. Discipline is very, very, very key. And it's something that I learned both the hard way and the good way. Because that day that Dad told me that, you know what, you'd better leave if you're not willing to cooperate, I said then something has to change here. So discipline, very, very vital and very, very important. And see, it reminds me of a character in the Bible called Job. That guy was rich. He had all manner of wealth you could think of. But Satan, through, of course, God's allowance, so to speak, tempted Job. And all his property was ripped off. But in all this, the good book, the Bible says, that Job did not sin. It takes discipline for you to remain focused, that no matter what, I'll be good. Number two, it takes a lot and a lot of patience.
Yes. Which is what we lack, actually.
Very
Most
true.
of the time, we hardly have that patience because you want to see instant results.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the tragedy, because if we do things and we want immediate results, then we lose it. That's why there are cases of, arsons in schools. And it's very, very sad because the students have not yet been told that for this and this to happen, there's a process. So the only way for them to get attention is to burn down schools, which is very, very sad, which is actually what should be helping them attain their greatness. Yes. So patience. Discipline first, then have the patience.
Patience second.
Yes.
Okay. But how patient can you be? Because sometimes it takes quite a long time. It has actually taken people years for them to discover their purpose and
Very
to
true.
find themselves. But how patient can you be?
I'd use the example of Thomas Edison, the light bulb guy. 9,000 plus experiments. But the last one is what brought the breakthrough. I'd be philosophical and say that be patient, but do something. See, there's a difference between just being patient. Okay, I'm patient, I'm waiting.
And
And just sitting and,
Right.
remote in hand, and okay, I'm waiting. Nothing will happen. It's like saying I have an exam tomorrow, I've already prayed for it, God will help me. But unless you do something about it, trust you me, that E is yours. So in as much as you're patient, also do something about it. Because the universe works in a very, very interesting way. If you do something, it has a way of repaying you back. But just sitting down and hoping that, things will be well, I'm patient, I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
Nothing will change.
And it has a way of responding to you and your energy. So
Very true.
if you give out negative energy, it will respond with that.
Yes.
Okay, so we have discipline and patience.
Yes.
Those are the two main things.
Those are the two main things.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. But even as we talk about value, the other thing that I really wanted to ask you now is, now when it comes to social life, how do you keep your circle? As you have said that you need to have mentors who are very much focused. But then again, if you have people that you cannot get rid of, and like let's say they're family members, and they're distracting you from following your purpose and living, you know, with your values, how do you maintain that balance?
Okay, so I'd say it calls also for a lot of honesty and being your authentic self. You know, when I left high school and I was born to go for campus, Dad always knew that I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
So here come the results. I tell him, you know what, Dad, I want to do counseling psychology. And he's like, no way. The next thing he asked me, where will you get a job from? I said, don't worry, jobs will come. And we really had problems with that. But I'm glad nowadays he understands. Because nowadays, even if I stay at home for a week plus and I'm not out for any engagement, he asks me, by the way, is everything all right, Elmard? I'm like, yeah, everything is cool. He's like, hi, today you've not gone out to give any talk or something.
Yes.
So being honest and being authentic, equally important, because in as much as Dad wanted me to be a lawyer, I said, you know what, Dad, I want to do psychology. And the fruits are being seen now. And I'm glad he helped me through it, in as much as he was a bit skeptical about it at first. There are friends, there are family who will discourage you and tell you that, you know what?
Absolutely.
Just stick around here. That's not your place. That's not your corner. You're comfortable here. But being honest with them, of course, in a respectable way. Tell them, you know what? I appreciate what you tell me. But my purpose, or rather my passion, lies in this and this and that.
Absolutely. Even because the people who look down on you, like
very,
when
very
it comes
true.
to, you know,
because
when you, today you say that you want to be the president, a lot of people will actually look at you like, who are you? Who do you think you are to be the president of this country?
Very true.
You know?
Yes. Because when you go to do something that they like and not what you like, they want to be there with you when you're crying, feeling the pain and the burden of doing that which you don't like. You'll be alone.
Absolutely.
But the day you do that which you feel like, yes, this is my forte, you'll be like Mozart composing symphonies.
Absolutely.
Because it comes from the heart.
And you always see people now coming to support you when you have made it.
Exactly.
Which is what exactly happens.
Yes.
Very much interesting. So I'd like you to talk to the youth who are watching the show right now. And this is mainly about, you know, being a person of value. And again, when they feel like, I'm here to discover my purpose in this world, how do you tap into that within yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I, once being there, in that tandem and that confusion of not knowing my purpose, the question that my counselor asked me still rings today fresh. If you were to die today, what is that one thing that the world would remember you for? That was the starting point. Because the moment that is unveiled, that I want to be remembered as maybe this very wonderful president, or as the best chef, or as the best model, or as the best whatever. And that is the starting point. You know, it's like this ship that was stranded at sea, in open sea. And so the captain tried to troubleshoot the engine, but he couldn't. So he asked all the other engineers on board, what could be the problem? And none of them could seem to understand. Then they called another retired ship engineer. And he was flown in by chopper, and he assessed the ship from the helm to the stern, from the rudder to the deck, everywhere. Then he took a hammer and went somewhere in the engine room and just tapped somewhere, and the ship was back to life. And so everybody was like, okay, this is interesting. So
that was it?
Yeah, that was it. So they asked him, how much do you want? Give us a quotation. And he said, $2 million.
Wow.
The guys were like, oh, come on, it can't be $2 million. How? You just came here with a hammer and tapped it and it was all. And said, okay, let me break it down for you. So he said, tapping is $2. Knowing where to tap, 1,999,998 shillings.
Yes.
And that was it. So equally for us, you should know where to tap. Because there's a lot of places where you can tap. But the moment you tap the right place, that authentic passion, that authentic self in you will be revealed to the world.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And the thing that I've learned out of this discussion is that, first of all, you have to know your purpose.
Very true.
And you have to know your value. And, you know, this goes hand in hand with your success, right? And we've said it has to do with two things, your discipline and your patience. You have to be very patient and very disciplined. Thank you so much for coming through and for having this discussion with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, we really do appreciate.
Pleasure.
It was all about being a man and a woman of value. Thank you,
Thank you so
Edmund,
much.
just for, oozing all that knowledge to us this